River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. I am Dan here along with James. James, say hello.
What's up, Niner Nation?
Here we go. There's our cool little banner. We do have a little bit of a heavy story to talk to you about, but before we get into that, I want to say, if this is the first time you're watching us in this cool new format, that is because we are now proud content creators for Shady Sports Network. Thank you, Sam, for bringing us along. I can't wait to...
Thank you, Sam.
Can't wait to continue our relationship. I can't wait to get to know more of the creators here on the network. After you're done watching us, obviously, check out everybody that is on here on Shady Sports Network. We're very, very happy to be here and to be a part of this family and to, just grow together and grow our audiences together and try to make a pretty awesome YouTube central hub for all your sports needs. Us, obviously, representing the 49ers. But I say that because that's what we typically will do on any other episode. However, this story, we scrapped a story that we were going to do. It was going to be one of those fun, kind of frivolous thought pieces before we go into our first preseason game this Sunday on the 13th against the Vegas Raiders. However, it literally, as of 8 minutes ago, came to our attention 30 seconds before we started taping that a pretty serious story has just dropped from Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio. There is some sensitive words that we will try not to drop. Let's not drop the hard R word if we can help it. This is a pretty serious story that we're going to be talking about, but we want to be sensitive to you, the listeners, while still also being authentic to the story. That's my little disclaimer.
Why don't you tell us the story, Dan? Because,
listeners, like I was editing in our last episode in real time with our ticker, Mike Florio, I am literally reading this in real time. I did read a little bit of it before we hopped here on Mike, but apparently, according to Mike Florio, I'll just read the headline. NFL.com ignores criminal case against Texans minority owner Javier Loya. That's Javier Loya. Apparently, he's been a minority owner with the Houston Texans for quite a few years. But now, to quote the very top of the article, the criminal charges against Texans limited partner Javier Loya, pending for months and not discovered until today, have become one of the biggest stories in the NFL, except, of course, on the online media outlet owned and operated by the NFL. There is no story on NFL.com. Nothing, nada, zilch, bupkis. That's directly from this article. And basically, this is just a send-up about the NFL trying to cover up what amounts to some pretty serious criminal charges against Mr. Loya, including the hard R word, the much harsher way to say assault, among other charges. It's a first-degree charge in that regard.
With other degrees, there's other degrees. I think there is.
I had it in the other article I was looking at, but this is basically a send up of the NFL trying to cover the story up. The actual charges, I actually don't. James, if you had them in front of you.
Yeah, so the owner, Javier Loya, faces 1 count of first degree hard R word, 5 counts of first degree sexual abuse, and 1 count of third degree sexual abuse based on public records posted online. And the case is set for pretrial conference on August 22nd. But
yeah, he published the first part of this at 10:50 this morning, which I managed to miss as well.
Yeah, I missed it. But
Texas minority owner Javier Loya faces charge in Kentucky. That was what the headline of this article was. And then now we've just learned while we're in the middle of taping that the NFL has literally has not said a word on this, at least in their online outlet and on
Yeah.
NFL.com.
Yeah. But if it was, like Mike Florio said, Alvin Kamara with domestic abuse charges, we know the NFL Network would report on that, and we'd be hearing it on the NFL Network.
Oh, ad nauseum. Yeah, like we were last year, because it happened right by the Pro Bowl too.
Florio once again points out that quote from, I believe it was Roger Goodell, that owners are held to a higher standard. So, this show just got done doing its work to get out Dan Snyder, and we're definitely going to see what they go. They are accusations. They are charges. They're formal charges. We'll see in a court of law how this plays out, but I'm sorry, this doesn't look good for the NFL. It doesn't look good for the Texans. Again, the Texans are in the news for, sexual assault, somebody in their organization doing sexual assault, and presumably the, team knowing and, not really saying anything to the public, coming out and speaking or doing anything to say like maybe this guy was in the wrong. It's just another one of those things that owners seem to do, and anything against an owner is sort of trying to keep it under the rug until, earmuffs. If you're new to this, earmuffs means if you have children listening right now, put your hands over their ears. Earmuffs. This is the shit that the NFL does versus owners versus players, and it's disrespectful. And so we here at Niner Nuts, we're pro players for the most part. Unless they do something evil, we will call them out. But we are definitely willing to call out an owner and the NFL for this kind of BS. And I'm sorry to sworn, and if you don't know that, but just understand, like, we are really passionate about this. We set up a campaign against Dan Snyder to raise money till he was voted out of the NFL. And, we're going to look into this. And if we think it's viable, we will start another charity campaign to get this guy thrown out of the NFL. But I think the NFL is going to not wait on this. I hope they're not going to wait on this and get this guy out as soon as possible. But we'll see. We'll see how this develops over time. And if it gets to a breaking point where it just needs to be necessarily for the figure out for the NFL to part ways with this guys, we will be on board. And we will be doing our part for sure.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're pro accountability. We, like James said, we are very much in favor of the players who are making the money for the NFL making their money, but we're also pro accountability. We want appropriate justice and punishment for players that step out of line, like Alvin Kamara and Deshaun Watson. We're for the justice system, but we're also for accountability because of just where you are being in the league, let alone being a player, the poster child. Like, literally, you're the face of the league. But it's almost more important as an owner, even though no, you're not getting the endorsement deals. No, you're not at the forefront of some culture war things like in the NBA, and slowly the NFL is starting to embrace having their 2 cents be more public with the culture wars. But as an owner, like you said, you set the example. You set the example because of the responsibility that you have. You want to represent. You want your organization to be something that your local community can be proud of. But you also, when you do what this gentleman has been accused of and charged with, not just accused, but charged with, it's disrespectful to your family. It's disrespectful to the team. It's disrespectful to everybody in the front office you see every day. It's disrespectful to the brand of the Shield. It's disrespectful to the community it's disrespectful to the community of Houston. It's despicable. If after the justice system goes through and he is convicted, and This is a little bit reactionary. It is accusations, it's charges. We literally just learned about the story, but if this is actually what this guy's done, that alone in its own right is absolutely despicable, and losing his minority ownership should be obviously mandatory on top of getting whatever an appropriate punishment is. I am not a Texas lawyer. I don't know what the punishment is for that. I hope it's severe, but
yeah,
but now when you
apparently decades he could go to jail for this.
Yeah, first degree of this, yes. I'm trying not to say the word. I know YouTube's very sensitive about that word. But on the other side of this, how embarrassing it is that a reporter outside of the NFL, yes, reporting about the NFL, but not employed by the NFL, is calling the NFL out for their own website not holding themselves accountable internally by just acknowledging the news. Like this is bigger potentially than the league, or not potentially, that's shortchanging this. This is bigger than the league when somebody is accused of this horrendous crime that he has been accused of. It's embarrassing that you just internally, if you all respect the shield like you say that you do, not pledge, that's a tad over dramatic, but when you work for the NFL, you hold yourself to a standard that's respect for the shield. And when you are not internally holding yourselves accountable like how players do on the field, they want each other to, I don't care if you're a third stringer, if you're not putting in the same effort that a first stringer is, they're going to call you out on it. When other owners or when other executives within the Texans aren't doing their job, when the league catches wind of this and not calling him out on this, when we've found this news out in the manner that which we did through Mike Florio of NBC and not an NFL.com source, checking your sources or whatever. I can't wait to see what excuse they say now that Mike's called them out on this. The story is very, very fresh. We're not going to have any follow-up on this until next week, but it's embarrassing. This is a very embarrassing look that the NFL is in right now. And yes, this is very reactionary, but
yeah, I want to say there was an update at 10:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time today that the NFL has sent a statement via email. The club promptly notified the league of serious pending charges against Mr. Loya after they were filed, a league spokesperson said. Mr. Loya has not been permitted to participate in any league or club activities during this process. He is no longer on any league committees, per Mike Florio at profootball.com.
Okay. Well, at least we do have that update. Yeah, this was not, we had so much fun on the last segment, and now we got to talk about something just disgusting like this again. Yeah, and it's from I'm not trying to it's just really unfortunate that the Texans now have this other blemish on them after they just got through weathering the storm of Deshaun Watson with their alleged connection to involvement. Yeah. Even though he was not convicted criminally or anything like that. Like, I'm not trying to be liable or anything like that. After they just had the public optics shift so hard because of what happened with Deshaun Watson, now this is happening too. Like, this is just so awkward and so not a good way to. This is just not good, regardless of the start of the season. Like, it's
unfortunate that this is typical of the brand, the wipe these things sort of under the rug until somebody else outside the league finds it out, and then it becomes this big, huge news stories. And it's like the NFL could have been on the forefront of this. They could have reported it like they should have, but they didn't. And now that Mike Florio has found this and reported it, now it's a bigger deal than it should be. By this point, right before the beginning of the season, before, we play, the majority of the first preseason games, like, this hits. And what's going to happen? Like, it took, Dan Snyder, I mean, he got accused, the allegations of sexual harassment and things like that came out in 2018 that had been happening for nearly a decade at that point. And in 2018 to 2023, that's what it took to get Dan Snyder out of the league, And so, is there going to be any sort of swift justice with this, or are we going to again see a long, drawn out process of this guy being a part of an NFL team, even though, yes, he's not on any committees, he's not doing anything related to the team, but these are serious charges. And, if it was a player, we'll go back to Pac-Man Jones, who had put himself in a situation for something that happened. He didn't get charged criminally on some of his charges, but yet paid the price of a year-long suspension because of the situations that he put himself in, and this minority owner has put himself in a situation where these allegations have come about. And what's the league going to do? Is the league going to do anything? Look at, what's the punter from the Buffalo Bills that got drafted in the 7th round?
Oh, Matt Araiza. Yeah.
Matt Araiza. He had allegations against him. It came back that the police weren't filing charges and he's undergoing a civil suit. But you heard about that story. It probably got reported on NFL.com as well. And Matt Araiza is not on an NFL team, even though there are no criminal charges pending against him. This owner has criminal charges pending against them. And he's still a minority owner, even though he's not actively participating.
I mean, this is a real question I don't have an answer to. That's why it's a question. I don't know what the process is to get rid of a minority owner versus the owner, like with Dan Snyder. Those are probably questions that everybody can answer and looked into right now. Maybe we'll wake up tomorrow and it's a decision by Bob McNair to tell that guy to sell his shares and get out of his office. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be really fascinating to see how this plays out. See more PR crisis management. That's what I was trying to say. It's going to be interesting to see if there's any kind of crisis management from the Texans. You said the 22nd, right? So 2 weeks from now. Yeah, that's 2 weeks from now from when we're taping. That the arraignment's happening, or the hearing? What was
pretrial
hearing?
Yeah, serious charges filed. The case is set for pre-trial conference on August 22nd.
Okay, that's okay. That's that's all preliminary. We're not going to get too much. We're not going to get too much juice out of there. Basically, that's when you all convene and set a date for set the timeline for this has to be here. These evidence has to be presented here. That's all that is. I mean, we're God, man, that's just put such a sour taste in my mouth. I'm really speechless at this point. I don't
the thing about it is
it would be bad podcasting to just keep reading a bunch of this stuff now. But I mean, we did read stuff right before we got on the mic, guys. I'm not saying that this was too important for us to ignore. So
yeah, we wanted, just so you know, what we wanted to talk about was something insightful, something people aren't talking about with going on within the league, the differences between, the 49ers and the Chiefs and the Eagles and the teams that were in the Super Bowl, as opposed to why the 49ers were not. We had an interesting point. We'll have to get to it later, because I'm sorry, guys, this news just broke to us. As we were finishing the recording of our last episode, I got the alert on my Apple Watch. Shout out to Apple. But I got the report on my Apple Watch and looked at the story. And, I was a little delayed. Dan was sending me an invite. I got on. I was like, Dan, you have to see the story, because this is something we need to talk about. So, and yes, we're kind of a tad late to the party, because this news story broke at around 10:30 a.m.
This is still a same day reaction. Don't feel bad.
So it's same day. So, but like I said, we wanted to talk football. We want to talk football. We love talking about football. We love talking about the Niners. We love talking about the league. But these things, especially for us, when it comes to an owner, uh, I will admit that we're very critical, a little bit more of the owners than we are of the players somewhat, because granted, it's not that players don't stay out of trouble. They get into trouble. We know about it all the time. We have addressed those in the past, but we know and we trust that the Shield is going to report on it. What we know now is the Shield won't report on its own club. The little, club owners of people who own teams who are rich billionaires who basically own the NFL, we see what's indicative of the brand, where a player certainly will be on an NFL.com website as reported by Mike Florio, but you won't find an owner until news breaks from somebody else.
It's just accountability. It's really sad that we're finding out this way, because this isn't just some pithy internal strife, like some power struggle. Like, this isn't like just some dispute over something pithy in the office. Like, I just repeating myself, like, this is criminal charges of very, very serious nature, and in a state that especially is pretty harsh with the criminal justice system. Like, this was something for the public interest. This was something that crossed the line into for the sake of public interest. Like, it's bigger than the league, bigger than the Shield. Somebody that's supposed to represent everything that's good and forthcoming and right and so on about the league. The league itself just didn't care to. I want to know what their excuse is. Like, yeah, we got that statement now, but no, this is just sad. It's just really kind of pathetic.
According to the statement, they knew about it immediately and didn't report on it. So that's
that's not, when you're accused of what this guy's accused of, that's not an excuse.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's indicative of the brand, and it's one of the reasons why, I don't always root for owners in CBA negotiations. I don't always root for owners when a player's contract is up. I don't really necessarily hold it, against players when they're trying to get a little bit of extra money. And, people are saying, well, they're arguing over, a couple $1 million. I mean, really, what's $1 million? Because I don't have $1 million. But that's the thing. Like, players are really the ones that, if we look at this, through the microscope, it's the players who are being held to a higher standard than the owners. And it really should be the other way around. It really should. The owners should be held to the higher standard, not the players. But we see how the league is working, and the league will be eager to report on a player who is getting in trouble with the law. If these were charges against any player, we would have heard it, a day later after it happened.
Oh, this player would have been cut already.
Yeah, he would have been cut by now. But here we are, months later, finding out about this through ProFootballTalk.com, and guess what? The owner's still an owner. He hasn't been let go. The league knew about it for months and didn't report on it. And it seems like that's what we've come to expect from the NFL.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's sad. This isn't the way it should be. We're idealists, yeah. But, come on. Anybody real? Working for a company. If you're working for a company and say, I don't know, you clock in late a couple of times or whatever, you get written up. There's some thing. Now, yeah, it's not public, but guess what? If the owner, went out and clocked in late every single day or whatever, same thing you're doing, is he going to get the same write-up as you? He should, but, he's the owner, and, he's not going to do that. He's not going to be held to the same standard. That's just sort of similar to what's going on here, I guess, in the sort of plain, way, if you want to say. But, the world should not be this way. The world shouldn't be where the little guy is held to a higher standard than the big guys.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's I don't know. I don't know what else there is to really be said about this story, and I don't know a good there is no good way to say let's talk about who supports our show now, I guess. I just don't have anything else to really add to this unless you do.
No, I don't. It just really bothers me. And yeah, after this episode, we have one more to record for the week. And,
this one will be the next one that you guys are listening to. If you're listening faithfully, no pun intended, and in order, yes, the next one is a lot more fun. But
yeah. Yeah.
We promise Shady Sports. We are a fun show.
Yeah. I mean, but Shady Sports said they like what we're doing, that we need to keep doing what we're doing. They said, don't stop what you're doing. And so Shady, this is us. This is what we do, and if you followed us from the beginning, this is what we've been doing since the beginning, and we will continue to do so. Let the cards fall where they may.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess speaking of Shady, sorry for saving it to the end, sponsors, but I mean, James, do you want to read some copy we have before we get out of here?
I mean, I would love to read the sponsors, but I don't need to. I mean, it's on the banner. Read the banner, guys, if you want that. I'm not going to sit here and plug 2 advertisements for you in the middle of this episode, because I'm not like that, and
yeah,
it's on the banner. Just look at our banner. We'll get to you on the next shows. And plug outro music, River Road, Justin Muth.
We'll catch you on the next episode, guys.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.